Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new Paint by Numbers tips video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Laura and I make Paint by Numbers videos. So please hit the subscribe button to see more Paint by Numbers. In today's video, I want to talk about translucent or transparent paints and opaque paints. So all of our Paint by Numbers kits that I've seen are on the market all have acrylic paint. So you'll have these problems that they're either transparent or not transparent, which is called opaque. And in today's video, I will explain why that is and how you can test it. So let's get started. So I'm going to start with the last question first, which is how can you test if the paint that you got with your Paint by Numbers is transparent or opaque? So it's really easy, you just have to do some swatches, as you can see I'm doing here. You have, I used a Sharpie pen just to draw some lines and then you paint on top of it. If you can still see the lines, that means that the paint is transparent and you will be able to see the numbers through it. And if you can't see it, that means the paint is opaque and you only have to apply one layer of paint to be able to cover the number underneath. I made a paint test video where I swatched all my paints that are in this kit that I'm painting on at the moment. And as usual, the link will be in the description for those videos. So in these paints that you can see in front of you, the lighter ones, like number 1, number 4, number 6, and number 11, they're all transparent, and the blue ones, number 2 and 3, are opaque because you can't see the numbers. See? So it's a really quick and easy test to see if you have transparent or opaque paints in your kit. And the reason why that is useful is that you can do something about it. So I will explain to you later what the different options are that you can do to work with transparent paints and still don't see the number underneath, because that's what we want ultimately, right, with our Paint by Number kits. Alright, so now let's get sciencey, but not too much into depth, what the difference is between opaque and transparent paint. And from a science perspective, this is the light penetration. So for opaque paint, this is 0, while for transparent paint, this is not 0. Light can pass through it, which is the same if you have a transparent, like a glass, you can see through it, but if you have a big tree, you can't see through it. So why are there opaque and transparent acrylic paints? So in traditional acrylic paintings, you often start with an opaque background and then you start layering on top of that. So you don't want the layer on top of your object, for instance here there will be the flowers, to take away from the paint underneath. So you would use transparent, or you also have semi-opaque paints, which is like in between transparent and fully opaque. You would use those on top of the full opaque paint. So you get a 3D effect basically. But for our Paint by Number kits, we like to have opaque paint so we don't see the number underneath once we have painted it. If we use a transparent or semi-opaque paint, then that means you have to start layering as well, which means adding an extra layer of the same paint in our case. Which is why in our paint by number kits we like opaque paint. So then why don't we just use only paint, acrylic paint, that is opaque in our kits? Well, it's not that easy. Because of what I said at the beginning, because the light penetration, that depends on the pigment used in the paint. So for each color there is a different pigment that is used, and the light penetration for that pigment determines if it's transparent, semi-opaque, or completely opaque. And traditionally, like the pigments used in white, like titanium white, they're they don't let any light through, so they're always opaque. But then you have paints that the pigment that is in orange or yellow is always very difficult and traditionally always transparent. So there are certain brands and stuff that try to give a range, but it's very difficult to make these colors opaque. So that is also what we see in our paint by number painting kits. If you have an orange color, it's very likely to be transparent, and that means you have to give it multiple layers. And if you have nice blues like these ones, it is often opaque. And of course it differs per kit, and it might also differ like how strong the pigment is and what quality of paint is used in your paint by number kits. But traditionally, or in generally, better word, generally, it is very hard to make opaque paints with certain pigments, like I said, orange and yellow. Okay, so now that we know why the paints are transparent or opaque, and we will encounter transparent paints in our paint by number kits. So what can we do to make the painting experience more pleasant and to work with these transparent paints? So the first tip is really simple. It's just layering. So what I'm doing here with this orange paint is just applying one layer first, then let it dry and apply a second layer. If it's semi-opaque, that's enough often, and you won't see the number coming through it anymore. Then if your paint is worse and you'll have to apply multiple like 3 or 4 layers, then it gets really annoying. So what you can do is actually use a pen or just some white titanium white paint and cover the number with that first, and then just apply one layer of your transparent paint, because then the number is already gone by the white that you have applied. Hope that makes sense. I will leave a link in the description for the white pens that you can use, or yeah, there's often white in your paint by number kit, so you can use that for to paint first, like I said. If there are any tips that you have with working with transparent or opaque paints in paint by number kits, please put them down in the comments, because then others can read and use them as well. And thank you very much for watching today. If you liked today's video and found it informative, please hit the thumbs up button. This way YouTube will recommend it to more paint by number um, enthusiasts. And